lovelings, it's time for another story about manifestation. This one just happened, and it's all about how I messed up my manifestation. But there is a happy ending, so stick around to find out how I shifted my mindset in order to get my manifestation back on track. So basically, for 6.5 years, I was working with a company that was amazing in a lot of ways. In fact, it's the job I mentioned manifesting in my last video about manifesting big things. What was amazing about this job was that they let me work remotely, in fact, way before the lockdowns. So I was able to move around a lot and travel, which I really love. It was easy work. No one micromanaged me. I could just log in on my laptop whenever I wanted, by the way. They would let me wake up when I felt like it. As long as I got 8 hours of work done, I would just do my thing. They'd leave me alone, and then I'd log off, and I'd get paid for that. And it was awesome. And then for the last year I was working for them, they even let me reduce my hours from 40 hours a week to 32 hours a week so that I could focus on my music. If you're listening, you might think this is insane, but I was so unhappy with this job. Not because anything was really wrong with it, but because I'm an artist, and at the end of the day, no matter how flexible a job is, I don't want to be sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours a day, even 4 days a week. That was just too much for me. So for like the last year or two of working with them, I was just constantly complaining that I feel stuck at this job, that I don't know where to go from here. I was trying to get freelancing off the ground, but that wasn't really working out. And it's really important that I kept saying I feel stuck here. So I was low-key manifesting getting fired. I didn't do anything to get fired. I didn't want to quit. I didn't have the guts to quit. So I wanted them to like get rid of me so that I would have that jump start that I needed to really hustle in the world of freelancing and work for myself more than I was working for someone else. Lo and behold, I did get laid off in November of last year. It was looking pretty promising that I might be able to shift from working as an editor to doing something music related or sound related. However, as I was sending out job applications or looking for opportunities, things just kept fizzling. So for example, I found out about a local salon that was looking to rent out a room to energy healers of all stripes. Sound healers, Reiki healers, and I happen to be both. So I reached out to her and she sounded really excited. She set up an interview time. She said, "Will you be free on this day?" Turns out I wasn't free on that day. So I got back to her and I was like, "Actually, can we do this day?" She never responded. That kept happening for another month and another month and another month. I was keeping all of my options open as I was job searching so that if something came up in the realm of sound healing or freelancing as an editor, I would be open to that. And if another corporate job came along, as long as it paid a certain amount, I'd be open to that too. I was just so open, or so I thought. But no matter what kind of job I applied to, it happened so many times. I would send a resume, they'd get back to me and say, "Let's do an interview," and I'd reach out to say, "Okay, when and where?" And then I'd never hear back. See, I'm used to employers ghosting after you send a resume, but not after they ask you to do an interview. What the hell is that? And then other weird stuff was happening where there would be a lot of false starts, or one job I got through the interview process and then they changed what the position was. They started off by offering a full-time position, and then after we did the interview they said, "Never mind, we just need a freelancer." And then I did the writing test for that, and then I didn't hear from them ever again. I had never lived on unemployment before. I've never gone this long without a job, and I was getting scared. As a manifester, I really should have known better than to be afraid. However, because this was such a new experience for me, I didn't really have a reference point for what to do or how to overcome that fear. I let the fear get the best of me. I got more and more fearful with every job application that went nowhere, with every interview where the employer would ghost me, with every position that turned out to not be what I thought it was. And it just felt like this comedy of errors where I was just being like pranked by the universe or something. This was the hardest job search I've ever experienced in my life. Or was it? Sometimes I guess we choose to teach ourselves lessons the hard way. And in this case, I chose to really commit to the victim role, which all resulted in me getting to like month number 5 out of 6 months of unemployment with no other job prospects than this one job that just really did not pay very well at a call center. But I had no other options, so I decided to go for this job just so I could feel like I'm not running out of time anymore, that unemployment isn't going to run out on me. I was so afraid and so desperate that I took that job, even though it was not what I wanted and it wasn't paying well. I just wanted the fear to be over, and I thought that doing something to my circumstances would fix the problem for me. But when manifesting, you've got to remember, it's never, ever, ever, ever the circumstances that are the source of your feelings. It's the other way around. How you feel generates your circumstances. It just takes a little lag time for those circumstances to crystallize around the feeling that you've been generating in your heart space. So it might take a few days, a few weeks, a few months, but whatever you're seeing in your outer world is a delayed image, an after image of what you started in here. So I started this call center job that I didn't really want. And when I was training, I noticed something weird. The woman who trained me looked and had the same mannerisms as the woman who trained me at my previous job of 6.5 years. And then I started the job, and a lot of the qualities of the job, like sitting in front of a computer screen all day, doing monotonous, mind-numbing, repetitive work at a computer, it all started to feel eerily the same as the job I had just manifested getting laid off from because I felt so stuck there. So then I was like, okay, I've got to take responsibility for this one. How did I manifest a situation where I ended up in a job that is basically making me feel the same shitty way I felt in my old job? The whole point of me manifesting getting laid off from the old job was I didn't want to feel stuck anymore, but here I am feeling stuck again. And then I realized when I rewound my memories of that whole 6 months of being unemployed, I realized with horror that I had made this grave mistake that you should never, ever, ever, ever make when you're manifesting something. When I was getting really honest with myself and I look back at everything I did during that job search, here was the big mistake I made. I kept complaining that I felt stuck. Every time a job interview wouldn't materialize, I'd complain to my best friend, I feel so stuck. What am I doing wrong? Whenever I would get ghosted by an employer, oh my God, nothing's moving, nothing's changing. What am I doing wrong? Like that. I remember my mindset being like, oh, I feel so disgruntled internally. I feel so frustrated with this situation that maybe if I express it, it'll get it out of my system, right? I need to vent. I need to let it out, right? Maybe that makes sense. Maybe. But here's the thing I know now that I've learned this lesson the hard way. When you say 3D isn't changing, when you say, oh, my manifestation isn't coming to fruition, when you say anything like that, you make it true. Anything you say becomes true. Anything you say about your manifestation manifests. So the ironic thing about saying, oh, what I want isn't manifesting, is that that in itself is a manifestation. By saying it and by committing to that narrative, committing to that truth, I made it true. Would it have killed me to simply not complain? Would it have taken something away from me if I simply resisted the temptation to complain and whine and bitch about how I'm not getting what I want and just say something victorious instead? Even a subtle shift from nothing is changing to things are moving in the background. I just may not be able to see it yet, but I trust that my manifestation is coming to fruition. Even a subtle change like that could have made all the difference. So once I had this realization, I decided to start doing exactly that, changing how I would speak about my circumstances. Now, it's really important to note that I didn't believe it. You know, I was feeling very defeated about my circumstances, so I chose to say new things, even though I didn't believe them yet. I would say them facetiously. So whenever I caught myself about to complain about my financial situation, about to complain about my job, I would catch myself and then turn it around almost sarcastically. So I would start to complain about money and then be like, never mind, I'm rich. This isn't of concern to me. Or whenever something at work was bothering me and I was about to complain about it, I'd pull it back in and then say, whatever, I'm a rock star. I don't have to work here much longer. So I would say sarcastically, I'm a rock star. I'm too rich for this. I have too much money to be worried about this. Just whatever sarcastic, stupid thing would come to mind to pretend like, oh, this is dumb. This is beneath me. And then one day, I got the inspired impetus to post on Facebook that I'm looking for freelance work. Now, I've done this in the past, but it never really amounted to much, so which is why I rarely even look at posting on Facebook as an option to bring money into my life. What do you know, but this lady comes out of the blue who is working on a book, and she desperately needed help getting it done, so she was willing to pay basically whatever. So she asked me what my rate was, and I asked for the higher end of my rate, in fact, higher than I've ever asked for before, and she said yes, no problem. And the funny thing about the book was, she mostly wanted us, because there were other editors on this, she mostly wanted us to just be present while she was editing the book and like kind of coach her through the writing process. So she needed like motivators more than just literal copy editors and proofreaders. So as long as we were just online while she was online, she was paying us. And so I emailed her at some point to say, hey, I feel kind of seedy sending you invoices for hours where I was just sitting there doing nothing. And she said, well, it's very important to me that I pay you for the hours where you're just twiddling your thumbs. Please don't worry about it. I want to pay you. Send me the invoice every week and I'll pay you. So it turned out that in a month, I made more money from freelancing than I've ever made before. And the funny thing is about that call center job that I took, if I hadn't taken that job where I was working the night shift, I wouldn't have been available in the mornings to do this editing work. So the very same job that had been a result of me constantly saying, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, ended up turning into the way that I was able to accept more money into my life. Do you understand what I'm saying? The thing that initially was a manifestation that I considered negative, that was the result of me saying, oh no, I'm so stuck in my life, became the thing that allowed me to get unstuck and bring more money into my life. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? So that is what is meant by the bridge of incidents, right? Everything you experience, everything you encounter on your manifestation journey is part of the manifestation. It's not like, here's the desire, I try to manifest it, and then over here is the realization of it, and everything in between is just an obstacle and a distraction and annoying and a nuisance. No, it's all weaving together to create a bridge that you walk from here where you first have the idea, the desire, to you actually getting it. In this case, what I was manifesting was more money so that I could produce my next album and actually be the musician full-time that I want to be. And just like that, as soon as I started saying, even without believing it, I'm a rock star, I don't have problems, I only have rock star problems, and things like that, suddenly it started becoming true because money just cascaded into my lap. So much money that I was able to pay off a huge credit card bill that took so much stress off my mind, and also was able to start paying for a drummer to re-record the drums on my album. And the money keeps coming in, by the way. This freelance gig hasn't ended. Like, I'm making this video as I'm still in the midst of receiving so much more money than I'm used to. And this is a huge breakthrough for me because I would say money has generally been something I've been challenged to manifest, but now that I know that you can just affirm things without even believing it, like, I'm too rich for this, and just have fun with it and be funny and cute and sarcastic, that works too. That's the wonderful thing about manifesting. You can do it by accident. In fact, you do it by accident all the time. So learn from my mistake. If you feel compelled to complain about your circumstances, don't. There's no benefit to doing that. None, okay? If you need to get the like release of getting the emotions moving through your body, exercise, do somatic processing, hit a pillow, scream or something, but do not cast a spell on your reality by describing it as a problem, by describing it as something undesirable, okay? Your words are so much more powerful than I can even express to you. And I just learned that, hence this story time. So I guess the takeaway advice would be find an affirmation that you can say like, whatever. I've heard some good ones recently. Like there's this girl who says, God is my sugar daddy. And suddenly she's got money flooding into her life like no big deal. Because really, it's not a big deal. It's so easy. Even how you talk about manifesting makes it true. So if you tell yourself it's so easy to manifest, I can do it by accident, then that's true too. Have fun with that. That's it for now. I love you.